the safety facilities on. So we look at the more behind-the-scenes stories as well. So also have the project managers, Mr. Yin, to show us more about the secrets. So let's first look at the bigger picture. So this is the Poyang Lake #2 bridge, and I believe this is also the largest cable-stayed highway bridge over a lake. So you can see actually we right now above the Poyang Lake. So we talk about this will be the longest one, right, in China. And also cable-stayed. So, Mr. Yin, would you please show us more about the construction of Poyang Lake Bridge? So, we talk about this one. This is the longest cable-stayed highway bridge with 5,000 meters long. So we talk about the Poyang Lake #2 bridge. I believe it started back to 2015. That's October 2015. So I believe that's part of the project belong to Jiangxi Highway authorities. So this is also one of its highlight projects in their 13th five-year plan. So this is actually, you can see that's really linked the different locations together. That's really helped to ease traffic pressure. So let's look at the boards. I believe there are more information available to us to let us know more about the Poyang Lake #2 bridge and why we should have this bridge and how that brings benefits to the people surrounding. So this is the map we look at. This is the planning map. So let's look at where we are. So where is the location of the #2 bridge? So here we go. It's this part. So this is at the section of Laoye Miao. So for the right part, that's the under construction Poyang Lake #2 bridge. So this is where we are now. So after the completion, how it will do good to the people in the neighborhood. So after we have this bridge, so look at the southern part of the Jiangxi province, we help them to shorten the distance. And we talk about the Poyang Lake areas, look at Lushan and the other regions. I really help them to solve the transportation issues. So this part, so I believe we should really go a big circle. So we didn't have this part before, right? So if they want to on the highway, they need to go this round. So this is really spend more time for them to travel. So that is also why we want to build this bridge. We really shorten their distance, so which give you a simple understanding. We save 1 hour for their commute. So we talk about the whole journey here. So this part, actually before they need 3 hours to cross the lake. Right now we help them to save 1 hour or even more. So we look at this is the Dujiu Highway. So this is the bird's wheel. So we can see clearly this is the transportation hub. And we also have a Fuyin Highway. So you can tell this is really goes through the whole different parts, and this has really helped to ease the traffic pressures and also link with different highways. So we can tell this is really as a bridge and also a connector with the surrounding highways. So we are talking about the under construction Poyang Lake #2 bridge. So I believe that people living next to the Poyang Lake will be really enjoy a lot of benefit. So you can see this is Laoye Miao, this Laoye Temple. So before I said they really did go this big circle. I go to the Jiujiang, and right now we really have, so this is the big circle. Right now they just go directly over the lake. And we also link to the Fuyin Highway. So all in all, save time and also help people to solve their commute issues. So let's look at from 2015 till now, this is the time for construction of the Second Poyang Lake Bridge. So what difficulties we faced during the whole construction? First of all, mountains, and on top of the mountain you can see the wind turbine. So we can tell we have a big wind here. And we also talk about near the Laoye Temple section. So that Laoye Miao water area is also called SDBT. So that's the Bermuda Triangle. So there are a lot of disasters really happen here. So we actually heard a lot of media coverage saying that the second vessel. So I believe that's the, not far from us, that's the sandbank that's belong to the Laoye Miao water area. So we not really understand about the Laoye Miao water area. So let's say from the ancient China, we talk about this is a really dangerous area because a lot of disasters happen here. So we also call this area actually the Bermuda Triangle. And also we can see the wind turbine, which showcase that here we have really strong winds. So we talk about why it's very easily to have that tragedy happen here. So we talk about the Poyang Lake, the widest part. That's around 15 kilometers, and the narrow part is only 3 kilometers. So look at this is mountain, actually that's the Lushan mountain. Don't know whether viewers can really see Lushan mountain, so that's really in front of us. So from the north to the south, that's the route the wind goes. So let's say, put in a simple language. So very wide surface of Poyang Lake, and very suddenly it's narrowed to the Laoye Miao water area. So we talk about actually the surface of the lake actually suddenly shrinked. And also because of the big wind. So we talk about this is really a disaster area. And also before, actually, there were a lot of sailboats here. That is also why they're quite vulnerable. And the whole construction actually started from 2015. It's the October 2015, but every year actually we stopped working for 2 months because the wind was so big. So we couldn't really work. We talk about the whole length of the Poyang Second Bridge. Is 5,589 meters, and this is also the longest cable-stayed highway bridge. So we talk about at least it over a lake with 5 kilometers. So for the whole bridge, we talk about actually there are a lot of work should be done either above the water or even under the water. So we talk about actually think about the piers. The piers actually should be built underwater. So we talk about Poyang Lake, actually that's also quite largest and famous freshwater lake. And we talk about Poyang Lake actually at the peak season and off-peak season, they have a quite big difference in the surface of waters. So that's also bring a lot of difficulties to us during our construction. So we talk about the water level. Actually, the biggest difference of water level is 13 meters. This is really a big number. So you can see the sandbanks, because right now it's during the dry season. And during the summer season, we of course cannot see all the sandbanks. So we'll talk about the water level actually is changed every year during the peak and off-peak season, or the dry season and dry seasons. So the big difference is 13 meters. So that's also require us to take the full consideration of water level changes. So let's look at, let's say, platform. So what this one really for? So how this really help us to deal with the water level differences? So this is a steel trestle, or you think about it as the steel piers. We talk about actually the material transportation that all first arrived at this steel trestle. So with that 13 meters water level differences. So how we cope with that? So we talk about the steel pier, right, or a steel platform. That's around 1 meter higher than the peak level of the seawater. Let's look at some pictures. Maybe we can make more sense. So how our engineers and construction staffs worked under the difficulties. So this is what we tell is the steel piers or the steel platform. So this is back to 2016. So I believe this is the wet season. So for the highest level of water surface, only 1 meter lower than the steel platform. So we talk about during the wet season and dry season, there were 13 meters differences in water level. So that also impacts our construction plans. So let's get back to the water side. So look at the waterfront. So we tell we should really build a stable and a reliable bridge over a lake. So which also require us to have a really subtle and reliable piers, or we talk about foundations that should be strong enough and resilient enough to provide the enough safety to the bridge and also to the personnel working on this bridge. We talk about actually the whole construction. We need to think about the different layers under the water. So like the silt seam and also the layer of the coal. So we also rely on the cutting-edge technologies and facilities to help us to build up the steel construction underwater. So I believe it's not quite easy to see the piers. But according to my knowledge, compared to the other bridge over the lake, I believe our piers actually is quite deep, or much deeper than the others under the sea or under the lake. So we talk about actually the average is around 40 to 50 meters for the piers under the water, but for this one, this is around 70 meters. So quite deep to the bottom of the lake. So let's say if we want to build a bridge on the land, that's only require 20 meters for the piers. But right now, if we talk about this one, actually we make 70 meters for the piers. We talk about actually the rocks are not strong enough. So that is also why that require us to make the piers deeper in the sea. And we also talk about actually think about the silt seam or the silt layers, because the silt layers is also quite soft. So I also heard actually we think about the construction or the work under the water. So there are also the interesting stories, right? So actually we found one, the cannibal from Germany, I believe that's left during the China and the Japan war. So besides the cannibal, what else we found? Or what else we dig from the bottom of the sea? So nothing quite interesting, but this is really something surprised us. We talk about this water area is still very dangerous, and we have the disaster areas from the ancient China till now. So this area is actually also very famous in the war history. Right now we talk about this is the Poyang Lake #2 bridge. So this is the second bridge over the Poyang Lake. So we talk about the climate difficulties and the long water area coverage. So all these are actually the top challenges during the construction. And one thing actually I've noticed, you can see there are actually a lot of different vessels visiting here. So that's the passenger vessels and also believe the boats for fishing. So we can tell this is quite busy route. So this we talk about the shipping lane. It's around 50 meters from the Yangtze River entrance. So this is actually the main water lane in the Jiangxi province. So I don't know whether you have the numbers that how many vessels or ships that travel in this area every day. We don't have the exact number, but we can tell right now, we can see there are many vessels visiting here. So we talk about that we may impact the construction. So during the construction, we need to have our steel construction, so that also have a little bit impact to the water traffic. So I also work with the authorities. They had a specific team to help us to manage the traffic here. I don't know whether you can see a lot of actually the navigation marks. So there is a white triangle on the green boat. I believe that should be the navigation marks, right? Yes, there is another one in front of the yellow one. This is also the marks. So the Maritime Affairs Office actually also help us to make this area is good for the construction of the bridge and also not have a big impact to the traffic here, because this is still a very busy lane in Jiangxi province. So that is also why we have the marks, navigation marks, to really make the whole traffic in a well-organized manner. I believe we're quite high above the surface of the water, so we are around 30 meters to 33 meters above the Poyang Lake. So right now is the dry season. For the wet season, I believe that will be around 20 to 23 meters above the surface. So we talk about the bridge. It's good enough for the traffic. So going past the bridge, no matter in wet season or dry season. That's already considered in our construction overarching plan. Don't worry too much about this. It's already in our consideration of design. So we already have the APEL, the trial projects as well. So we already consider all the different factors relating to the traffic. So the whole construction of the bridge actually not really impact the traffic here. Another challenge, we know that the Poyang Lake is the largest freshwater lake here. And we also know the migrant birds actually they also quite like these areas. So we talk about the animals and the plants also really love the Poyang Lake area. So during our construction, how we consider or how we work with the environment. So we talk about this area, especially the Laoyamiao water area that's quite near to the national area to protect coral fish. So let's maybe go somewhere that's closer for our viewers to see the coral fish area. That's the national level protection area for coral fish. So we have the strict requirement on environmental protection. So what do we have done? First, we had a lot of information board at first to educate our staffs and also to have the whole atmosphere to always remind our staffs that we should protect the environment. So we have different kinds of trainings to our staffs as well. So we talk about the national coral fish base. Where is it? Actually, we see the very cutie coral fish during our construction. So that's really adorable animal. But we talk about the whole construction. So we need to use really large size machines, equipment that produce a lot of noise. And also we have the machine oils, right? So that maybe link to the water. So how we really protect the whole environment, especially when we're using the large size machines. So first of all, you need to really choose the good equipment, high quality ones. Because the old ones, they may have the potential risks of, let's say, oil leak. So we choose the really good ones, the top quality ones. And so they also have really less noise because the overall sound they produce is really limited. And we use the boat actually to carry the mud. We not really just pour the mud to the Poyang Lake. We didn't do that. And we talk about actually we not really follow the traditional method. You can see right now we use a lot of steel construction. That's also the part of our environmental protection consideration. So education is very important. And also the materials, equipment are all carefully selected. I believe the environment protection authorities also involved during the construction, right? Yes, actually we also invite experts from the China Academy of Science to help us do the monitoring job. So there is nothing really risk found during the construction, I can guarantee you. Speaking of environmental protection, So we talk about the during reconstruction of a bridge over a lake. So we pay much attention on the oil leak, and also we try our every effort to protect animals and plants. So we talk about after the bridge put in service, there will be cars on the bridge. Let's say if a car accident happened, that maybe also have the potential risk. Let's say an oil leak to the water. So what really we in our consideration about the future operation? So let me show you our details. Let me show you the details so you can see actually we have the small holes here. And also the grooves. So that's also help us to collect the rainwaters. And we also have the purification system that help us to first to clean, let's say, the waters, the rain waters. And also, let's say, if a car accident happened, the oil leak, so that will not directly go to the Poyang Lake. That will first go to the grooves. We have this kind of, let's think about it as a collector. So we have this collector. We will clean it before it go into the Poyang Lake. So we first collect all of them and then clean them, and they were okay to go to the Poyang Lake. So which means the quality of water actually meet the standards. So mentioned so many challenges. So we talk about the climate change, climate difficulties, and also the danger of the water area, strong wind, and a very large coverage of water area with 5 kilometers. And also talk about the water level differences during the wet and dry seasons. We talk about this is also a very busy traffic above the lake. And let's talk about something more innovative. I believe there are a lot of number ones or first of its kind we used during the construction. So we talk about the approach bridge, so which means the part the car will first arrive. So we talk about the approach bridge. Let's say right now we are right now at the abutment, then we cannot really see the approach bridge. So we use a very new way to build the approach bridge, right? So how new it is? So we talk about we use the new way to reinforce the bridge system, so that also help the bridge to have a longer life. So we talk about we have enough sludge, so that also can really good cope with the geosonic reinforced bridge system. So these two coming together have a very solid foundation for the bridge. So let me show you a picture, so I believe we can know better about the whole bridge and also the approach bridge. So we talk about the Laoyimiao water area, so where it is. So this is the Poyang Lake. Very lucid water. So the blue part is the Poyang Lake. So you can see the very narrow surface, and then this is Lushan Mountain. So a very wide area, and coming here suddenly to a very narrow area. So we talk about actually that also make the water flow very fast. And also make a little turn, so we also talk about that is why the wind was so strong. I believe very soon we will kick off the completion ceremony. So what they fill in. So this is the concrete for completion. This is a really, really last step. So this is really small area. So we can tell actually before the ceremony or before the last step of filling the concrete, I believe the whole bridge actually already finished. So we can see right now the workers. Right now is polish the surface. So today we witness the whole completion of Poyang Lake No. 2 bridge. And from now till today it officially put in service. What else we need to do? So we need to still finishing the whole abutment, and we also need to look at the whole cable. So we have the final adjustment work to do. So what is the estimated day for the Poyang Lake No. 2 to open to the public? Let's say June or July 2019. So we talk about the people in surrounding areas. They really get the tangible benefit. because it really helped to ease the traffic pressure and save time for them to commute. So all the viewers, so you're tuning in with CGTN. We bring you the live about the Second Poyang Lake Bridge completion. Thank you for watching.